I always find it fascinating how the IDF drops leaflets over all of Gaza, literally warning the enemy that, hey guys, we're coming in. But why do they do that? Because the civilians deserve to know that this is going to be a combat zone very soon, and you need to get out of Dodge before we come in, because this is going to be active live fire combat zone. So that's what the IDF did. Check this video out. They're like millions of papers, looks like snow, falling down on Gaza. Everyone knows. Nobody's in the dark on the IDF's mission to go into Gaza City right now. So that's literally happening as we speak. They're preparing to move soldiers into Gaza City, and simultaneously, the world is talking about the day after. The IDF hasn't finished this war as far, it seems like they're far from it. A lot of talk about what's going to happen the day after. America has a plan. It turns out that America has done this similar thing in another situation, and it was a complete failure. So, as politics would have it, maybe we should try that again. We're going to talk about all that. A lot of insanity going on right now. But I'm Joshua. We're going to discuss it all right now here at the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe in a world of anti-Israel propaganda. You should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, these leaflets were dropped. You just saw that video. That's pretty astounding how Israel drops these leaflets all out. Warns the people, move out. If you're not a part of the fighting force, get out of the way, because we're coming in to finish the job. The IDF estimates that there's about 200,000 Gazans left in the city. So I don't know which part of that force is actually going to be actual military, part of the force, the terror force. A lot of these that are said to be civilians are actually a part of the terrorist regime. So anybody from this point on that you see that's getting killed in Gaza City, just know that they were warned beforehand that they should leave. This is an active combat zone now. Of course, the world media is going to be displaying that as a horror scene, and Israel's going to be the problem. We're going to talk more about that in just a minute. On the IDF front, they have good news and bad news from the U.S. The U.S. just approved the 500-pound bombs to be shipped. They've been delayed for 2 months. And there's talk now also, just today, that Israel needs reinforcement. They need restock on this side. So it's a big deal that the 500-pound are coming. The negative, horrible part is America is not sending the 2,000-pound bombs. Obviously, Israel needs that backup right now. In my humble opinion, we need to be backing up Israel right now more than ever in this fight for terror. We're going to talk more about that, but the Jewish breaking news says this. The Washington Post reports that Israel and Hamas have both agreed that in the second phase of the ceasefire deal, neither Hamas nor Israel would govern Gaza. Instead, security would be handled by a force trained by the United States and supported by moderate Arab allies. Well, sounds like a wild idea to me, except for it's not a new idea at all. This has been done before. Similarly, the Palestinian anti-terror unit that was started back in 2005 after Yasser Arafat was, I don't know what happened to him, killed somehow. I mean, the whole story back then was quite a story. But after Yasser Arafat was removed and we had Mahmoud Abbas come into power, well, the United States, with Condoleezza Rice was the Secretary of State at the time, started a new thing called the U.S. Secretary Coordinator. This was a new office that was specifically dedicated to the Palestinian Authority to help them, to train them, and to equip them in their security forces to combat terrorism. Well, what the ridiculous thing is that the U.S. established this coordination and supplied training, funding, and arms to it is like literally handing them to the wolf. They're acting like this is some sort of sheep. It's going to be the good guy. It's going to be the awesome. It's going to be the thing that solves the problem of terrorism within these Arab sectors. Well, what they didn't realize is they were literally training the wolf himself. And we have enormous cases of problems within this specific area of where the U.S. This is taken, I'll quote from the state.gov, one of the state.gov sites here that says the United States, through the multinational office of the U.S. Security Coordinator for Israel and the Palestinian Authority, worked with the PA, Ministry of Interior, and the PA security forces to reform efforts and training, including counterterrorism. So this is state.gov telling us what they did. This was back in 2005. They're collaborating now. They're funding. There's reform going on. They're helping the security with training and all these things of the counterterrorism units of the Palestinian Authority. Now, let's jump up about 2021, 2023, these 3 years, and let's look at, did this work? Did it not work? This is Regavim, an organization, a watchdog organization here in Israel, quoted this. It says, some 80 members of the Palestinian Authority security forces were involved in acts of terrorism against Israel between 2021 and 2023. So these were U.S. trained and armed Palestinian Authority security forces. That was a 3-year snippet of time where we just looked at those U.S. trained individuals and what they did. What they did is murdered Jews. 80-something members of that team took it upon themselves to commit terror attacks themselves. And of course, with the highest levels of training, armed, funded, and trained by America. So again, do you think that America's idea to come in and establish a peacekeeping force with the Arabs, let's fund them, train them, and arm them again, and let's see if it works this time. Guys, it's already been done, and it's obviously a horrible idea. You're just funding the next terror unit that will then fight Israel. That's the fact, and that's what happens repeatedly, not just in Israel, but all over the Arab world. This is like American mindset, Western mindsets on how you deal with it. You know, that proxy group that Israel gets behind, or that rebel group that America gets behind. They turn out to be, maybe they hold them up and they push them into the position of power, but in the end, it's just another terrorist organization entity that ends up ruling over the other ones. Okay, obviously fired up about this because we've done this before. Why make the same mistakes? Unbelievable failure. We should not do this again and again. End of the day, this is causing Israel a lot of pain. Let's stop the nonsense, and let's stop training other entities to take care of the terror situations that are harming Israel. And let's back Israel. Let's send the 2,000-pound bombs to Israel so that Israel can fight their just war on terrorism and not count on somebody else, especially somebody in the den, to fix the problem. Nonsense.
It says, I will bring you in from the four corners of the earth, and people will know that you are my people and that I am your God.
Discover for yourself the miracle of the land and the courageous hearts of the people of Israel.
I am 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 Israel.
Visit IamIsraelFilm.com to begin your journey.
It's available now on DVD, Blu-ray, and digital download. I Am Israel is an epic film that will take you on a cinematic journey through the land of the Bible. You'll meet Jewish men and women whose very lives are a testimony to the promises of God. And you'll see with your own eyes the miraculous rebirth of the promised land. It's screened in over 10,000 congregations worldwide. It's the award-winning film about Israel made for Christians. Visit IamIsraelFilm.com to begin your journey today. Okay, so another really frustrating part about this is the media has gotten it all completely wrong once again. So that's why I hope you're listening and you're understanding what this actual situation is here. From the BBC to the AP, the New York Times, you name it, all the mainstream big sources that people are getting their data from are focusing on right now the poor Palestinian, the starvation, the fear, the death, these things. They're problems. But their end of the matter is wrong. The conclusion is wrong. They're basing all of the suffering and the starvation, the fear, the death on who? Israel. They're blaming Israel as the problem. Now, Israel is the salvation, the fixer of all of these problems, but they're confusing that. Just like America is training the wolf to protect the sheep. No, you cannot do that. Israel is the answer to these problems in Gaza. You can't expect the terrorists to be the watchdog to protect everybody else. So, unfortunately, world news is also making the same mistake that American politicians have made again and again and again, confusing the problem as Israel. The problem is not Israel. The problem is all over the Arab world with Arabs that are attacking and killing. It's a very hostile culture. And this is what has invaded the people of Gaza. And I'm telling you, it's not any Arab village you go around here. There's civil wars going constantly in there. Look at Syria. Just they've massively butchered each other. That's the same across the entire Arab world. It's the same in Gaza. Tribes fighting tribes. Israel is the answer for peace in the entire region. Don't arm the other guys. So the UN Humanitarian Affairs Office says this. Says Israel's instruction for people to leave Gaza City will only fuel mass suffering for Palestinian families. So Israel's coming in to take charge, to rid the place of the horrible terrorist entities that are ruling over and destroying Gaza. And people like the BBC, the AP, and the New York Times, and the UN, and all the humanitarian forces around the world have sided with the terrorist organizations instead of siding with Israel. Just to open your news and check it out. The humanitarian people, specifically the UN, knows the truth about this and are literally fighting the war along with the terrorists against Israel. And I would go so far to say that all the major news networks are aware of this as well. And they are also fighting a war against Israel. Let's be very clear and truthful about the actual situation on the ground. Israel's instructions to get people out of Gaza is to save life. They want to rid the place of the terrorist monsters that are ruling the area. That would help everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be confused about that. All right. I literally find it mind-blowing that Western news outlets are totally missing the mark and are actually siding with the terrorists instead of the freedom that Israel can bring to these areas. They're fully misinformed, or at least are intent on misinforming everyone else. Now, when it comes to the actual loss, everybody's blaming Israel. Look at the crisis. You look at any news network known to man out there, and all of them are putting pictures of really incredible, horrible pictures of people hurt and maimed and whatever. War. What I want to remind you is that America's war on terror since 9/11. This was from the Watson Institute, Cost of War. Quote from their site. It says that the estimated total of direct and indirect deaths since the beginning of the U.S. war on terror is 4.5 to 4.7 million. All right. I just state that to say the world that thinks Israel is some sort of demon for going out and literally killing and destroying these terrorist entities is so far from true. Israel is liberating these areas. We must not get that wrong. And they're doing, actually, let's just pull it down, they're doing a much better job of it than any other military has ever done in fighting terrorism around the world. Let's get that correct. Israel takes the utmost measure to ensure civilian safety and get the business done, right? They're taking out these terror units, and it's a very difficult job. Fighting terror in this guerrilla terrorism kind of way is extremely difficult to protect civilian life. Israel's doing the best thing, pulling the civilians out, separating friend from foe, separating them so that they can fight this war correctly. And let's just remember, down to the basic level, Israel is doing the best they can to save life. Unlike any other military on the planet, Israel is focusing massively on saving life. At the same time, they have got to get this job done, not only for the safety of Israel, but if really for the entire world, especially the Western world that's faced so much with the tragedy of terrorism and the looming threat that terrorism is to the entire Western world. Guys, let's stop funding the terror machine and let's get behind Israel in stopping it. Makes sense to me. Guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check us out. All the other shows are there. We're so glad to have you on the channel and watching The Truth. Guys, I know you're not hearing from anywhere else, but stay tuned, guys. Get this. We've got so much content here. Literally, I don't know anyone else is saying it, but we're on the ground, and we're going to give you the truth of what we see around us. It's so essential in these days with so much misinformation. Guys, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect to the truth of what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. Christianity's in trouble. Every day our faith is attacked and often watered down. Those who are zealous for their faith are few in number, or they're not willing to speak up. Young people are leaving the faith of their childhood to chase the dreams of this world. If we look carefully at the Bible, however, we find that God gives us hope through an ancient prayer. The prayer unlocks the door to forgiveness and God's favor in our lives. It all goes back to the dedication of the temple in Jerusalem when Solomon prayed for the nations. Solomon prayed for you. Many times when Christianity is seeking repentance and revival, however, the key ingredient is left out: facing Jerusalem. Facing Jerusalem was written by Luke Hilton and Zach Waller, filled with their personal stories. This book paints a beautiful picture of how all believers should care about and recognize Jerusalem's key role in the redemption of the world. Solomon asked God to answer the prayer of those from the nations that look toward and face Jerusalem. Is this prayer still valid today? Purchase our book at facingjerusalemthebook.com or click the link in the description below. Enter the promo code Jerusalem for 10% off. Order your copy today and experience God's plan of redemption and blessing in your life. Just go to facingjerusalemthebook.com or click the link in the description below.